Hello and welcome to Is This Your Card? Today we're going to be discussing Astral Communion. Astral Communion is a very unusual and rather strange card. For 4 mana, you discard every card in your hand and give yourself 10 mana. Oh dear. This card is a little bit of a risk. Along the theme of Wild Growth, which gives you a permanent mana crystal, along with Innovate that gives you a potential 2 mana, and along with other such things like the coin that give you that extra mana crystal for that turn, etc., etc., you have Astral Communion, which is effectively the complete bottom end of the spectrum. It is the final peak of all the possible mana worries you could ever have, and it's terrible. Astral Communion for 4 mana discards your entire hand and gives you 10 mana, which is very useful, except it's a gambit, because you lose all of your cards in the process. If you can reliably get more card draw, Astral Communion becomes very, very good. If you can't, you're fucked. This card loses every card you have in order to give you 10 mana. This means you lose your entire hand of cards. Every card you have is gone. That's terrible. It means you're completely reliant on top decking and card draw if you actually want to play any more cards this game, because you've just thrown away your entire hand. On the one side, it can be used to get rid of a mill deck. If someone's trying to mill out your hand, you can discard your entire hand with this card. Plus, if you do it at 10 mana, you do actually get the ability to draw a card from it. So that's not necessarily that terrible, because you'll already have 10 mana. But those specific uses do not make the card any good. Situationally, yes, the card is good. In some situations where you have too many cards, or you need to lose your hand, or you get some sort of bonus from losing your hand, perhaps against bosses, like the adventure bosses, this card will become unuseful because of how the game is played. But against anything that isn't a boss, against anything at all that isn't scripted and preset, and except against very specific enemies in very specific situations, this card is completely effing useless unless you have a lot of reliable card draw, or you know you will get a lot of reliable card draw. Please, for your own sanity and health, don't take Astral Communion unless you are 100% absolutely certain that you really want to risk losing the entire game just because you wanted 10 mana before your opponent. Though that does work well in this meta.